That we want to see locally what is happening in Ethiopia, and we have this particular picture of Sahle. Is it work or work? So many people work the Amharic way. If we just pick up, yes, the picture, there we go. Elected as the first female president of Ethiopia. First out of the gate, we can comment on this briefly before we look at what is happening, of course, across the borders as well, internationally. Ambassador, yeah.
Our resident expert.
Ambassador, quickly.
Well, a fine lady. I know her very well.
You know her very well.
Very well. I mean, she was ambassador of Ethiopia to the African Union. That's why I worked with her very closely. She was here in Nairobi, UNDP. I mean, as head of the UN in Kenya. I mean, for the region. And I think you saw last week the Prime Minister appointing 50% cabinet, 50 women. And this shows, and we commended him. Of course, he's got a lot of challenges, but this is a trailblazer. I think it's moving in the right direction. She's the only president now, a woman president in Africa, and I think it's something that we should applaud and encourage countries to follow.
Right. Okay, let's hear from Irungu Houghton. I know he's really castigated me about the manuals that we normally have here every Wednesday as far as gender parity is concerned. So today I know he's in an awkward place because Lucy, she's not here.
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, for me, the appointment of former Ambassador Sahle-Work is just wonderful. I mean, it's just one of those things that we can be proud of regardless of which passport we're using. In this case, and I think the position of presidency is essentially, it's a symbol of national unity in the context of the federal and democratic republic. Now I guess we can use the word democratic. Before it was a bit of it got stuck in my throat a couple of times when you talk about the federal democratic republic of Ethiopia. But I think the other thing really is that he's raising the bar for the region.
Yes.
I mean, I think that's essentially what Abiy is doing for us all, in that it is possible to have women in senior positions of authority, you know, this is one of those appointments where we can probably say was not a tokenistic appointment, because this is a very accomplished diplomat. She's very skillful in negotiations. She's an extremely humble woman, and to have her in that position is just wonderful. I'm sure we can congratulate the Ethiopians on this one.
Thank you.
Right,
Dr.
Ethiopia
Mustafa
was one of the countries that was choked with virtually all aspects, sectors heavily securitized.
Yes.
Now, one of the tactics and strategies to actually redress that is normally to appoint more women at very high position. That way you desecuritize key sectors that you need to desecuritize. Right. And feminization of politics in itself desecuritizes that particular model. Abiy is doing very well. He's being very strategic, and I think this will work for Ethiopia. The only thing that he really needs to worry about and focus on is the ethnic nationalism that is there in Ethiopia. This is something that will take a very long time. You have Ethiopia, the Federal Republic of Ethiopia. It's an amalgamation of Oromo, Somalis, Amhara, Tigray, the southern states. And that bit is still there. We saw the Oromos when when the rebels came back, the Oromos say, no, we don't want that flag that has been used because it was used to oppress them. And ethnic nationalism is very much alive and well in Ethiopia, and that could hold back Abiy in one way or the other.
Right. Dr. Khanenje.
Of course, until perhaps, hopefully not, he starts messing up, you can't help but love this guy called Abiy Ahmed. What he's doing, it speaks well not just for Ethiopia, but for the entire African continent. Remember, Addis Ababa is the political capital of this continent, and so messages coming from there are pretty good. Now, just to support what Dr. Mustafa mentioned, you know, with the opening up of political space, there is going to be challenges, and in part because for a very long time Ethiopia has been a highly securitized and police state, and when you open up the political space and the room for voices and for other people to be able to organize and assemble, then you spur long, what I would say, suppressed feelings and emotions and grievances. Not to mention there are groups within Ethiopia right now which feel they're not exactly part of the political process, not because they are necessarily not part of the political process, but because some of them were used to being at the center of politics in Ethiopia. And so one thing we're likely to see in the next few years is actually competition for power and resources in the light of increasing liberalization and opening up the political space. And that is how successful Abiy Ahmed is going to succeed, is going to depend how he's going to manage this competition of power and resources in Ethiopia.
Right. Thank you very much. Naomi Dama.
Debarl, Ethiopian airport at Addis is where I've been asked by patients who are traveling for money.
Yes.
To give them money. And I think that's the only airport that I've had that kind of incident around the world. Abiy is facing phenomenal and unique problem. He is moving very fast to address it in a very subtle but strategic way. And the question is for us to watch him very closely, how he can manage these huge ethnic differences between Oromos and Marik, historical. And so if he can do it, then he will come out as one of the major African transformists that this continent needs.
Thank you very much. I just also lifted this from the archives, if you may just look at this particular picture. And this is the spirit of the East Africa Cooperation then, right? The integration. And you can see here, this is President Nyerere actually kissing Emperor Haile Selassie. Because they had actually indicated or gestured, really indicated that they are joining the East Africa community as well. And you can see this is Milton Obote, and also we have Mzee Kenyatta hidden there.
He was the Pope at that time.
He was a Pope.
Who?
Who was a Pope?
Haile Selassie.
Haile Selassie.
It's a ceremonial.
Yeah.
So that's why you sort of keep
It's a what? One of you is a ceremonial what?
ceremonial ring. They call it a sacrament or something like that for the king.
For the king.
Yeah,
for the emperor.
monarchs. Yeah, monarchs.
For the monarchs.
It's just a sign of respect to kiss it.
You kiss.
Yeah.
You kiss it.
fingers.
Yeah.
And even that one really was used as a signature, isn't it? You can
Indeed.
actually use it as a stamp.
Yes.
Yes.
The seal of
The seal of the king. Yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic.
Debarl, it's an interesting photo, right?
Yes.
Because Nyerere, of course, a self-proclaimed socialist, kissing the hand of a monarch.
Yes.
So actually, in terms of the political systems, one has to wonder, what was happening at that level, But I think it's contradictory at that level. But I think in terms of Julius Nyerere, it really, for me, reminds me of how great he was. That he was able to transcend his own ideology and be able to reach across to an African brother and acknowledge him in the context in which he was operating, which is really a monarch. And actually, some people used to say he was descendant not from mortals, but from high above.
Solomon.
From Solomon directly.
All right, and of course, we shall be discussing the issue of the Jews and the way the Jewish also, they're being, threatened around the world with the Pittsburgh shooting as well. But if we may just have that picture back, and I've never really connected Haile Selassie, just maybe for the many that they wonder, where is Haile Selassie and the Jah Rastafarian movement, because they really allude him as, as a king or their leader. Any of you might pick up on that, if you have any sort of idea? Just briefly.
It's social anthropology. A lot of Africans were enslaved, and they were taken out to the West Indies and so on, and they have been trying to trace back their roots. And the story about Selassie and the kingship and so on, right from Menelik and so on, it really appealed to them. And so there was some kind of spiritual intonation and so on. But more important, Debarl, is that we are still facing problems of state formation that our forebearers, our founding fathers, tried to overcome. Like Nyerere even wanted to delay the independence of Tanzania.
Thank you.
So that we can have one country and so on. Let's keep thinking in that direction, but there are a lot of hurdles. Because like now, what Abiy and the the lady president, what they are doing is trying to really overcome the problems of state formation that Ethiopia has, trying to have a state of harmony between the political and historical aspects of statehood and the cultural and territorial aspects of nationhood on one hand, to have a harmony with them. And it's normally a very tricky affair going forward.
Hassan Kanenje.
Yeah, I think just to attempt to respond to directly to the question with regard to how he's viewed, especially by some people of African gene pool in the Caribbean mostly, is, Ethiopia was viewed in a very mystical, very romantic way. In part, being one of the countries that wasn't colonized. And this leader having been there for many, many years, even as Africa went through colonialism, of course, except between 1935 and the end of the war, and 41, when Italy lost the war. It is something, because most people in Ethiopia are not exactly Rastafarians, they don't even care about that. But those people of African gene pool, especially in the Caribbean and West Indies, view him very differently. And part of it, I think, was search for identity and search for belonging. Just the same way you're going to find a good number of them really interested in learning about Africa and romanticizing Africa, talking about the great Zimbabwe civilization, for instance, or Egyptian civilization, in part because most of their history has been negative. And so in the search for identity and for something positive to hang on to, I think they ended up giving this guy a status that was close to a prophet.
Right.